To ensure our heat seal labels are adhered correctly to garments, there are 3 components to consider. The first is time, second is temperature, and third is pressure. Before we turn the heat press on, let's check the pressure. To check the pressure, first let's use the handle of the press to pull down the hot plate like so. When the heat press locks into place, this should feel firm. However, it should be relatively easy to do. If your heat press is easy to close, to check that it is delivering the right amount of pressure when you close the heat press, the hot plate should hit the rubber pad like so. Then the metal arms will lock into place after the hot plate has hit the rubber pad. This movement here delivers the required pressure to heat seal a label on correctly. If your heat press has too much pressure, when you pull the press closed, you will notice the head of the press is hard to close and hard to open, like so. If your press has too much pressure, it is important to reduce this, as heat sealing with too much pressure will squeeze the heat seal glue from under the label and into and around the garment and reduce the reliability of the bond to the label. If this is the case, you will want to reduce this by using the black cog above the hot plate. To reduce the pressure, you need to turn this anti-clockwise. After doing a few turns, you will notice the pressure is reduced. In this case, I need to turn it a couple more turns. And here we've got the perfect pressure. If your heat press has too little pressure, when you go to close the press, it will feel very easy to close. There will be very minimal resistance, and additionally, a telling sign is this clanging noise. This is where this arm here is hitting this. You will also be able to see, as before, that the hot plate isn't connecting with the rubber pad prior to locking into place. To increase the pressure, turn the cog clockwise a few turns and you will see that the pressure is increased. In this case, I've turned it clockwise too many times, so I'm gonna, as demonstrated previously, turn it anti-clockwise. See here, pressure is now perfect. Now that you have checked the pressure, you will want to turn the heat press on and check the time and temperature. To turn the heat press on, press the red switch on the right side of the press. Once the heat press is on, you will be able to see that the time is set to 10 seconds, which is correct, and the temperature will display the current temperature, which will begin at much lower than the target temperature of 204 degrees Celsius. Before you begin heat pressing your garments, it is important to wait for the heat press to hit 204 degrees. If you begin heat sealing prior to the press reaching this temperature, the labels will not adhere correctly. Now that the heat press is near enough to 204 degrees, we are ready to heat press a garment. To heat seal correctly, wrap the collar of the shirt around the heat press and make sure the garment is nice and flat. When putting the garment in place, ensure that your hands are to the left and to the right of the pad, like so. Do not put the garment on the pad with your hand underneath the hot plate, as this will increase your risk of burns. Now that we are ready to heat seal the label on, a quick check of the temperature shows that the temperature is above 200, which is correct, and the timer is on 10 seconds, which is also correct. If any of these are incorrect, there's an easy way to change it. You hit set and adjust up or down like so, and then once you've got the correct setting, you hit set again. Timer. Set. You'll note that the target temperature is 204 degrees. However, any temperature above 200 degrees is ideal. Pull the handle down like so, and you'll see that the timer begins to count down. Once the timer has gone off, pull the head back up immediately and the label will now be heat sealed correctly. A quick test to see that the label has adhered to the garment correctly is that once the garment has cooled down enough to touch, a quick test will be that you should not be able to pull this off by hand. To remove a label, we have an emblem and label remover spray, which makes it easy to remove without the need for heat or any other difficult process. Before we get started, it is always important to follow the safety instructions. Additionally, if you have a number of garments where you need to remove the label, it is also a good idea to use a well-ventilated area. To remove the label, we simply spray on the underside, just like this. You need to use enough spray so that the moisture reaches the glue. And we turn it back around. And we peel it off. Just like this.